Welcome back, everybody, to Take 2 podcast. This is gonna be our first English episode. How are you feeling, Luis?
Delightful.
Hey, this is your host Diego and
This
Luis,
is your co-host, Luis.
and today we're gonna be talking about a little bit of jazz. What is it about? Where did it come from? Some movies about jazz too, and we'll see how it goes. So, jazz started out in Louisiana, exactly at the time of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. So like it's been around for a while. How do you feel about jazz, Luis?
I don't know, man. It's been I feel like it's one of those great music genres that are like from really, really far away from the past, and it is very, very valuable because of its history and its time in the world.
Yeah, and jazz has been around for a while, even before we can even remember. Like, jazz comes out from the African culture, mixing up with the United States when they come to the United States to be uh, slaves. They wanted to be free, so they started making music. And one of the genres that came out and stood out the most is jazz, because jazz is an expression of music. It's pure sound out of any instrument. You can just play jazz with every single instrument out there, and it's gonna sound beautifully, you know?
I've heard that jazz was like black's revenge on white men, which
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about it because I enjoy jazz music nowadays. I don't know what to feel about it because I'm white.
Yeah, but like, jazz is a mixing of religious cultures and melodies and all of that with the white community. So it's basically the white community and the African community. They just mixed up and made dances of African slaves, and they also put dances of African slaves in the music, and that's where jazz comes out with dancing and music and all of that. And we can't talk about jazz without talking about the blues, the ragtime, and the improvisation. Improv in jazz is one of the best things ever.
Improv is key in jazz. Like everyone that is professional in the world of jazz and blues and soul, also, improvisation is like the most outstanding of jazz, the most like important fact of it.
Yeah, improvisation. Just jazz. I love jazz when it comes to to do improvisation, just to like wild out and do whatever you want on any instrument. It doesn't have to be one in specific. Just to wild out and do whatever you want and play anything that you want. In music in general, doing improv is one of the best things that you can do, because it's one of the best feelings. You can just groove out and everybody's smiling because they love music. Music, it's a way of art, a way of expressing how do you feel, how somebody else is feeling. And like I said on the first Spanish episode, an artist doesn't make a song and he leaves a part of him in that song, because it's expressing something about himself. Nobody else will understand that feeling that that artist is leaving there. You can have an idea through the song.
Yeah, because when you play music with passion, it's your emotions, but like portrayed as the instruments you're playing as.
Yeah. So you know Frank Sinatra, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he's my favorite.
he has beautiful songs. It's more like a pop jazz kind of
Yeah,
music,
yeah.
but still, jazz, the voice is an instrument. Like, you can't say your voice is not an instrument. Your voice is an instrument. And the way that Frank used his voice through to his advantage and just made some beautiful melodies and beautiful lyrics and songs that they are still around to this day. They still use them in movies and all that.
Yeah, Frank Sinatra, like I said, he's my favorite like pop jazz singer. Also because of his highs, he can sing. His highs are like wow, like you're ascending to, I don't know, heaven or something. But like it's like mythical or mystical. I don't know how to say it, but it's awesome.
Yeah, it's art. It's beautiful, and I don't know if you heard, jazz is like from jazz. Every single other type of style of music, every type of genre comes down to. So jazz is like the root of everything else. Because if you say, oh, but we took this out from this part and then we took this out from this part, you come down to jazz. Jazz made every type of music, every style of music, because it's a mix of the white culture and the African culture, and it's just outstanding how good it can be, and how you can relate, how you can put together two songs, and one is like heavy metal and the other one is jazz, and you are like, wow, they sound the same because they're one comes out from the other, and it's something beautiful. So also we have other artists like Louis Armstrong
Louis Armstrong, yeah,
with
the one that did the soundtrack for. I mean, they picked it. He didn't make it for them. They picked him, like the one that are like a wonderful world.
oh yeah, what a wonderful
What
world.
a wonderful
That's a
world.
that's a beautiful song. Then
Yeah.
there's Miles David, Ella Fitzgerald, my bad. She is the first black woman to ever do jazz and be one of the and she's one of the legends in jazz and in the history of it. And she was wonderful, beautiful voice. I don't know about you, but I mainly listen to females when they sing jazz because they have such nice voices.
I
And
also listen, like only a few women that are really well talented as a jazz singer, and also women that sings in the blues.
yeah,
They are
yeah, I remember Louis Armstrong and his wife. They have a CD together, and it's such a wonderful record. I have it on vinyl, and I play it on my um record player. It's such a beautiful album, and they just go so well together because his voice is so raspy and so beautiful, but her voice is so soft and high. So he goes on the low, but she goes on the high. And it's such a beautiful balance they have together and such a good chemistry when they sing. It's just wonderful to hear them sing together when they did that record, and in general when they sang together. It was a beautiful matchup.
but like not so much people about know Armstrong of his trumpet playing, but they know more about his singing.
Yeah.
Just to point out that he also outstanded because of his performance with the trumpets.
Yeah, his performance in the trumpet, it was magnificent. He
Magnificent.
was one of the best trumpet players out there by far.
By
He
far.
he did beautiful songs. I can't remember any of them, but he did so many good songs with the trumpet, and just when he played the trumpet and sang at the same time in the same record or in the same song, it was good because that's why he's one of the greats, because you can't like express how good he was.
In terms of like instrumental, what aspect do you like? Or like the melodies or the instruments they're playing?
Yeah, the best. Obviously, I'm a drummer, so the drums in in music in general is the instrument that gives the tempo to everything. But in jazz, it's such a crucial part. It's such a it has to be there. It can't not be there because you just go like they're playing with the ride and then playing a little bit with the snare and giving it a little bit of the kick and then the hi hat with the feet, and it's just so good, and it's so hard to play. Like I've tried, and it's not
It
easy at
is. It
all.
is very complex. Yeah.
It's super hard. You have to do it well, and then to play a double, it's even worse. Like to play a double tempo
Ooh.
with the ride, and then keep the kick in time and the hi hat. It's such a hard thing to do. And I saw Whiplash yesterday. Whiplash is a great movie in jazz. Like it talks about jazz, but then it talks about what it shows you about um the life of a drummer, like how hard it can be.
A professional
Uh,
drummer who wants
yeah,
to outstand in the
yeah,
world of its
and be
kind.
the best. He wants to be the best and leaves everything behind. And out of that, um, his family doesn't support him. He doesn't has a mother. He only has his father, but his father doesn't support him as much as he wants him to. And then his uncles and all of that, they don't really know about music and don't really care, but he goes out for it and give his he gives his best shot. And yeah, in some scenes you can see the phase that he makes while playing, and drummers don't do that. Like they don't
No,
do that phase.
realistically talking in real life, they don't do those
Yeah,
faces.
but
Like I've
um
seen performances and covers, and they don't make such faces.
they don't make the. He's like hitting the ride really hard, and it doesn't have a good posture. But then it's a aside of all the technical things, and aside of being like, oh, he's doing this right or wrong. Aside of that, it's a beautiful movie. It shows you a lot about jazz too, about how singers met and became friends. I was telling Luis here. There was
It's pretty. It's like they do it on purpose. They overreact on purpose
yeah
because it's Hollywood. It's Hollywood logic because people, the movie is for it's targeted for a music community, but it's also targeted for general public, and the general public doesn't knows what the drummer uh, does exactly, what the drummer feels, what the drummer acts like a drummer.
yeah
So they have to like exaggerate a little bit of the expressions, the performance, to make it believable for the public general.
yeah, and not just on that movie, not just on Whiplash or a drummer movie in general. Just like in every single movie, it doesn't matter what movie it is. They have to exaggerate what they're doing just to make sure that everybody understands what's the message that they are trying to give out to the public. And talking about Whiplash, Whiplash has some good songs. It has Whiplash, obviously, is a song. It has Caravan. Caravan is a beautiful song. It's one of the best songs. I think it's the best song in that movie, especially with the drum solo that he did at the ending. It was a beautiful drum solo. Um, the movie talks about revenge, or it doesn't talk about it, but it shows it, or proving everybody else wrong and proving yourself right, and that's cool.
Like
That's
standing out for
yeah,
yourself.
yeah, and you should do that. But at the same time, uh, be careful on how you do it, because sometimes it's not right. Um,
Yeah, you can make bad choices, and as well as you can make good choices.
yeah. So the director, um, he was talking with Neiman, which is the main character. He was talking with Neiman on a bar, and he was like, "Jazz is dying." So, what do you think about that, Luis?
That's partially true and partially false because um, there I've been hearing about this subgenre they're called like big band, and it's getting a little bit popular these days because I gotta be honest. There is a specific artist on Spotify. They do like it's called the 8-bit band, and they do like covers. I remember they did a cover of that popular FNAF song, like Five Nights at
Yeah.
Freddy's. It's really cool. The arrangement on that, it's outstanding. It's wow.
So I'm gonna talk to you about a little bit of the um, Jazz is Dying. So J.K. Simmons, who's the one that plays Fletcher, which
Mhm.
is the director,
Mhm.
he was talking with Fletcher was talking with Neiman, and he said jazz is dying. And for me, it's true. Jazz is dying. In what way? Well, jazz is dying in the way that people don't do jazz as it was before. They don't put the intent to it as they did.
Also, you're telling me that jazz is losing its specialty, losing its essence,
Y-
because they're making more like generic stuff,
yeah,
more simple stuff.
they're doing like more of they're using more the electronics,
Oh,
trying to use the yeah digital instruments.
VSTs.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's not good. I know people that do songs in digital instruments and all of that, and it's actually super interesting. And it's super cool how they do that kind of stuff.
From my perspective as a VST user, I can say that if you like pay a lot, this is the world of VSTs. If you pay a lot for VSTs, they're gonna give you the most realistic sounding instruments because they record every single technique on the instrument possible, and you pay a lot for that. What's the thing here? That if you don't pay, or let's be honest, there are free VSTs, but obviously they're not gonna be a very top quality VSTs because either they're recorded with a kind of cheap microphone and not played the whole techniques. Because I have a few libraries of VSTs. Some are free and some are a little bit paid. Others a little bit cracked. Not gonna lie. And I got one that doesn't has all the techniques, a few techniques, and the other that has the techniques that doesn't has that VST,
Yeah,
and I have to like fill up with both VSTs, and it's kind of a headache. So I wouldn't recommend a lot if you're working from home. VSTs are a great option if you can't afford like an actual instrument.
yeah,
But if it's like I don't know, a piano or a guitar or something, maybe you should buy the actual
yeah.
instrument.
Just learn it or ask a friend, and he can play for you. It's never um, what's the word that can happen? The
Mm-hmm.
worst that can happen. They say no,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. For me, so Fletcher, I'm gonna talk a little bit about Whiplash here. One of the lines goes like this. I'm not gonna say everything because it's a little bit explicit, but he said, Terrence Fletcher. So imagine if Jones had just said, "Whoa, that's okay, Charlie. That was all right. Good job." So Charlie thinks to himself, "Well, I did do a pretty good job." End of story. No bird. That to me is an absolute tragedy. But that's just what the world wants now. And they just wonder why jazz is dying. So he's talking a little bit here. Um, they're talking about Charlie. And Charlie, he was a player. And his teacher threw him a cymbal to his head. And he had to dodge it. Like a drum cymbal. If he wouldn't have dodged that, he would have ended up going to the hospital or something. They're talking about pushing people to the limit, to the limit that they don't expect that they can get to. Maybe you expect getting somewhere, but there's this one person that wants to push you a little bit more further than that because they know you can go a little bit further than what do you expect for yourself. And understood when Fletcher said that. Sorry, because he was talking about pushing people to the limit, but then if you soften out some people, they will just say, okay, well, I can do it like this, and he said it's pretty good, then I might as well just do it as this my whole life. No, try to do a little bit better than you did last time, and you're gonna get better. And he talked that how we get our new Louis Armstrong or Frank Sinatra, or that's how we get those people, by pushing people all the way. But there's also people that you can't push all the way because they can get stressed really quick,
Or they
or
just can't take it.
yeah, they just can't take the hit. Like they were talking about one of the scenes, um, they called Fletcher on the phone, and he had to leave, and then they realized that when he started, he had a kid named Sean, and the kid, beautiful trumpet player. He had beautiful songs and all that, and he left college 3 or 4 years later. It was just present time on the movie. The kid died, and then they realized that it wasn't because he died on a car accident, like Fletcher said. It was because he suffered from anxiety and depression after he left college. Because of Fletcher's pressure, he got a lot of anxiety, a lot of like depression and all of that inside of him, that he started suffering from that. And out of that, he ended up taking a choice of, unfortunately, killing himself. It's not a real thing. It's not based on real
Stories.
stories, but it's something that happens in real life that people can't get can't get that that
Pressure.
yeah, that pressure that some people give them. So also we have to be careful on who we push and who we don't.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say a little facts about the psychology of Fletcher, aka the director of the movie. And I saw in a video review, that he uses his like contrasting psychology a lot with his students, because at first he does like a, how does it say, like a uphill and downhill of emotions. He makes the student go uphill and then downhill. Like at first he compliments him, like, you're doing such a great job, this is why you're here, and you suffer a lot to be here. And in the next day he can say, you're a piece of garbage, your performance was trash, don't ever do that again, or else you'll be stuck in an alley or something. And the next day you might hear him like, hey, you did a pretty good job, see, that's what pays off, hard work. That is his very contrasting psychology. And if you don't go with him, you might you might not catch up, and you might be screwed, because that's how he works, like very very different. And you don't go with him, you're basically screwed.
Yeah, Fletcher was a really interesting character in that movie, and a really big piece of the movie, of the image of the movie, of what it was, what it meant.
Especially the part that he throws a chair
And
to.
he throws a chair at Neiman because Neiman wasn't playing right, and he was like, "That's not my tempo. That's not my tempo." And then he just left him playing, and he just took the chair and just like yeeted the chair to him like it was nothing.
And
And he
then
was
he
like,
said, give me 215." And he was like counting in 215,
"Yeah."
actually.
And then
He
he's like,
was.
"Count in fours. Did I tell you to count in no,
Four.
counting in fours?" But Fletcher, one of the best characters, in my opinion, the best character in that movie. It really shows you a lot of the world in general, not just the world of music of or jazz.
I have a doubt specifically in the final, in the ending, when he literally was bleeding out his fingers. when playing the drums really damn hard, really fast. I'm, I have a doubt if that actually happens when you are performing like that.
I mean, you can get blisters from playing. You won't like bleed as he did, but you will get blisters. They can pop. They can have a little bit of blood. It's not a big thing. It can actually happen because it's it's still like wood that you're hitting against something, and they're like, and it's like rubbing against your arms,
It
your
shouldn't be
hands.
sharp. There's nothing
No,
sharp right there.
no, there's nothing sharp, but it's still wood, and it still hurts when you like play a lot and
Okay.
super hard. You
Mm.
can get a lot of blisters, and he had a lot of blisters already from training really hard. So it was like you have the blisters, and then you just keep playing over and over and over again. They're not gonna cure. They're still gonna be there, but bleed like he did, it won't. It won't. You won't bleed so much like he did. But yeah, it's beautiful. That movie was beautiful.
Like yes, you could bleed, but not as much
Not as much as in the
as that.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
What's your favorite type of jazz, Luis?
I gotta say the jazz that plays on the background in the middle of a bar.
Yeah,
Oof.
that's beautiful.
That is very pleasant,
Yeah,
very
it's
silent,
calm.
very calm.
Yeah, it gives you that vibe of just like calm down.
Especially when the bass is like doom doom
Oh yeah,
doom doom, a very clean bass. I love that bass. Like for me, out of all the basses I've ever heard in my life, that bass is the cleanest bass I ever heard, and I love that bass.
yeah, and that's why I'm talking like instruments, real instruments are better.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, hey, no hate to any. If you do if you use digital instruments, don't hate me, please. I don't like it, but don't hate me. And I know people, and they might listen this. Hey, I still love you, okay? Well, my type of jazz, my favorite type of jazz, it has to be free jazz. Free jazz, and maybe you're like, for the people that don't know there, free jazz is like, or it's also called freeform. It was made in the early to mid 1970s. It's a style of avant-garde jazz or an experimental approach to jazz improvisation that developed in the late 1950s and the early 1960s when the musicians attempted to change or break down jazz conventions such as regular tempos, tones, or chord changes. So basically, free jazz came out when free jazz was starting out. It started out as something that people didn't want it because it was something out of the not.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was not regular. It was let's say rebel. It was different. It wasn't the same thing that they were used to listening to. So free jazz it's a beautiful type of jazz. Uh, there's a lot of uh, Brazilian
Subgenres.
yeah composers that play free jazz, and my favorite song of free jazz, it's called Al Privave. It's a it's not Brazilian. It's a Portuguese name. Uh, Charlie Parker. He's one of the best players I've seen. And on the sax, that song on the sax,
Ooh,
it's such a beautiful song.
that's another like really relevant instrument.
Yeah,
The sax.
yeah. The saxophone, the trumpet, the drums. What else? There's so much. The bass. Sometimes the violin.
They use when they do like the chill jazz music in the middle of the bar. They use like this noise. Like
Oh yeah, that's the
I
that's
don't
the
I don't know how they use that. How do they do that?
that's kind of like a hi hat sound because it go like tss, 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 tss. it's like a hi-hat sound, but
Yeah,
you can also do it with.
yeah, but there's also like another layer. There's like a white noise in the background, or I don't know.
Yeah, it can
It
be
could
it can be
be
another symbol,
yeah, yeah. It
maybe.
could be another like bass, like on mute. Could
Yeah,
be.
it's and oh, dude, you said that when the bass does um mute notes and it goes
Mute
like bah,
notes.
bah, bah. Dude, that's such a. It sounds so good.
And they also use like pizzicatos too, and like with the sticks.
Yeah, that one is also good. Okay, let's talk about soul jazz or funky jazz,
So
as people call it. So this is a subgenre of jazz that incorporates to strong influence of hard bop, blues, souls, and gospel, and rhythms and blues. So, like I was saying before, jazz comes out from the African culture. So there's gonna be this part that is gonna be like when you go to a church or something and there's like super upbeat music, some gospel songs, they are like super good and they're like moving all the time. That's where soul jazz comes in.
it is very rhythmical.
Yeah, because
Very.
it's always upbeat. It's always going ba 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 ba, and it's a beautiful type of music, and soul jazz. It's what's your opinion?
For those, well, a little parenthesis there. For those who would like digital, and for them tempo is BPM. The BPM around jazz is from 90 to as fast as it gets, like
Yeah,
200.
jazz doesn't have a limit in tempo.
No, 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 it doesn't. Unless it's like extremely slow.
Yeah, yeah, and there's times, but it's not really.
Yeah, what was the question again?
What do you think about soul jazz or funky jazz?
Well, I haven't heard a lot about soul jazz or funky jazz, or also called jazz funk, but like it's pretty interesting how they use the bass and the like the bass as the structure, and for the rhythmicals, for the rhythm, it's very upbeating too. It's like very vibing,
Yeah,
and you sometimes you go crazy about it.
yeah, you do. I love funky jazz. It's just so happy. It's that's the word. It's just happy. It's just all the time. And when the bass comes in and the bass like dun 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 dun
And
dun
I
da,
love it
dun.
when they use it in the movies also, but like
Yeah,
use it like well used.
yeah, yeah.
As
Jazz.
for a really good example is in The Joker,
Yeah,
like with the single of Frank Sinatra, "That's Life." I
yeah.
love that
Dude.
piece.
Frank Sinatra, obviously, he's one of the. So now I'm gonna go into mainstream jazz.
Okay.
Right now, we don't really have a mainstream jazz. If we really think about it, mainstream jazz back in the day, jazz was like the biggest thing. Right now, jazz is not the biggest thing. Unfortunately, the biggest thing right now is I think it's trap or rap, not even hip hop. It's like rap
No, and like the most mainstream thing in the teenagers are like freestyle rap
or pop like
or pop, yeah.
Taylor Swift or I don't
Doja
know.
Doja Cat,
Yeah,
the Kardashians and stuff.
they don't sing.
Yeah. I'm
The Kardashians. No, but mainstream jazz. I think the mainstream jazz right now, it's the legends. Basically, it's just Frank,
Frank
and
Sinatra.
and he played pop jazz, which is a little bit like the same thing that it's going on now. It's not obviously he's, in my opinion, way better, but I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but this I think the mainstream jazz right now is like Frank, Louis, Michael Bublé.
Michael Bublé also.
Michael Bublé. He was
As
with the Foo Fighters the other day. I don't know why. Foo Fighters playing with Michael Bublé.
Yeah, Michael is like
That's
the modern Frank Sinatra
yeah,
of the of nowadays.
yeah. Michael does a lot of covers, but at the same time, he also has a lot of good songs.
He the good thing about his covers he does is sometimes he samples and sometimes not, but what really is very about him is that he puts his personality on his
Yeah,
voice.
yeah,
He puts his touch to that sample or cover, and that
yeah.
is a very good thing. That's what covers are for.
I One of the things that I was about mainstream music, the mainstream music right now, it's as we were saying, it's like rap and all that, but a lot of the mainstream music has samples of jazz in it. It has part of good songs in it, like Kanye has songs that have jazz. Drake also does. There's a lot of well-known artists that have jazz as their source of the their source of the beat of the song. And
Jazz was one of the big genres that changed the world of music, the music franchise forever. Like
yeah.
forever.
So let's talk about a little bit about cool jazz.
Cool jazz.
Cool jazz.
I don't know about it exactly.
I'll tell you. It's a style of modern jazz, music inspired by bebop,
Yeah.
don't say it,
Okay.
and
I'm
big
not.
band that arose in the United States after World War II. It is characterized by relaxed tempos and a lighter tone than that used in the fast and complex bebop style. So, cool jazz is more of the jazz that it's not fast, but it's not slow, and it's like
Okay.
light, and you just go with it. So
Okay.
it can be kind of like
It is smooth.
relaxing ish. It's
Smooth.
just like it makes you lean back and be like, I'm cool. That's why it's called
Okay.
cool
Okay.
jazz.
So okay. So I know why Bruno Mars happened.
Kinda,
Kinda.
kinda.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruno Mars, he can sing jazz.
Yeah. He can totally sing jazz, as well as Michael too.
Yeah,
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Yeah, Michael Jackson could, if he sang jazz. Obviously, he's the king of pop. He's the best
He's,
pop singer
He is the pop singer. He is the pop.
in history of music in general. Michael Jackson, he he's the best. We're gonna talk about him and on another episode.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Obviously, always
Yeah.
like and subscribe. Turn on post notifications.
Yeah.
But cool jazz, one of the best jazz out there. It's like my second favorite. My first favorite is free jazz because it's just improvisation all the time. Well, mostly of
Mm.
it, it's just improv, and doing improvs on drums is like beautiful. But then we have cool jazz, which is chill.
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's calm. It's as the word says it. It's cool.
It is
And
cool.
you don't want to be cool? Come on, dude.
Who doesn't want to
Who
be
doesn't
cool?
want to be cool?
Who doesn't?
If you want to be cool, just listen to cool jazz,
Yeah.
and you'll be cool.
Yeah. But like, I'm gonna listen more to like this very subgenres of jazz because I was only listening to background jazz, as I told, like the bar jazz because people. Okay, so I gotta make a little like parenthesis here because most people who doesn't listen to jazz, you tell them that hey, you should listen to jazz. You know what's jazz, and they're gonna tell you, oh, is it like the background jazz that plays on the?
Yeah,
But it's not only that jazz. Jazz is a
yeah.
lot more than that.
Jazz is it's just music in general, like genre. Like if you talk about a music genre, there's gonna be a lot of sub genres. Is it or
Yeah, yeah,
it,
subgenres.
yeah? There's gonna be so many. Like my favorite genre of music, it's metal, and then you have metal, then you have metalcore, then you have rock metal, then you have pirate metal, then you have Viking metal,
Death
Christian
metal
metal,
too.
death metal. See, there's so many subgenres that you won't be like. It's a lot. It's a lot to discover, and listening to music. That's how you discover music. And talking about subgenres, let's talk about our last subgenre. It's called Dixieland jazz. Have you ever heard of that?
Sticks what?
Dixieland.
Oh, no, I haven't.
Okay, this is easy.
Okay.
Also referred as traditional jazz. So it's basically the base of jazz, how it came out.
Interesting.
Hot jazz, also called as that, or simply Dixieland. Just call it Dixieland.
Okay.
It has a name.
I'm
It's
I'm gonna
Dixie
call it hot because
land.
it's more easier to say.
Yeah. So Dixieland is a style of jazz based on the music that developed in New Orleans. So let's talk a little bit about New Orleans. New Orleans, uh, like Louisiana, it was one of the
Okay.
places that jazz came out from, or the place that jazz came out from. Jazz came out from Louisiana, but it got a little bit more popular when it went to New Orleans because that's where Dixieland jazz came out.
Yeah, it's spread out. It's scattered, like a epidemic or something.
Yeah, and it was in the start of the 20th century. Um, in the 1917 recordings by the original Dixieland jazz band, fos- fostered awareness of this new style of music. So it came out in 1917. It's the other day.
Kind of recent. Yeah.
If we really think about it, it's not that far.
No, it's not that far.
Jazz has been around for a while, but not too much of a while. But um, Dixieland jazz, it's traditional jazz. It's the base of it. It's how it came to be, how everything happened. Um, Such a beautiful kind of jazz. It's just one of that you can just take out and listen to it, and it's just instrumental all the time.
I'm
Or
gonna start to listen to that, and I might get into it. Like, I've been recently getting into in rock, like Viking rock,
yeah,
but like I'm gonna get into more that Dixilian.
yeah,
Yes.
Dixieland.
Okay. Okay.
Dixieland. It's the land of Dixie. No, it was a band. It's named out after a band that
Okay.
it was called Dixieland. So they just said Dixieland jazz.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, now what other movies do we have aside from Whiplash that are jazz based?
Well, jazz-based movies. We got Soul from
Yeah.
Disney. I haven't watched it
A lot
yet,
of people
but
say it's a really good movie.
yeah, cause I've heard it touches the topic of like living your best life because you only have one,
Yeah.
and they symbolize a lot the afterlife, and in the afterlife you get to see other people's living their lives, and you can like it gives you that chance of comparing your life to others. That is one of the stigmas right there, and
Yeah.
it shows this guy who the main character that at first he wanted to be like a top jazz player or like top jazz pianist player, and there's this moment where he literally dies out of nowhere because he fell from a sewer watching a newspaper. I mean, who would fall in a sewer
Yeah. Don't
looking at a
question it.
newspaper?
Just don't question it.
Yeah,
It just happens.
yeah.
Don't worry
Just
about it.
just don't.
But I feel like movies teach us a lot, teach
Yeah.
people a lot about life.
Yeah.
And now you're saying that about Soul. I haven't seen it, but it shows me a lot about Whiplash too. Like Whiplash, in a way, is telling you to live your life to be the best. I mean, obviously, you're not gonna be. Sometimes you're not gonna be the best at. You're not gonna be the best at everything, and there's always gonna be somebody else that it's in the future gonna be bigger than you. But the point is that you do everything possible everything that you have on your power to make everything possible. And not everything is gonna be possible. Sometimes you won't be able to do some stuff. That's where you come in and look for help. You can't do things alone. And just Whiplash tells you about just be the best, but also enjoy what you have around you, and have a good time while you're doing have fun while you're doing what you love,
Yeah,
which is
because
it can be cooking or baking or playing sports or making music or doing whatever you want. Just do it as you love it, and just have fun with it, and also try to be the best version of yourself while you do that.
if you don't like value the things you've done, the stuff you've been through to win, it's not a it's an empty win.
Yeah,
It feels empty.
yeah, it's like, uh, as I said, it's just you gotta enjoy the path. You can't not enjoy the path, because when you get to the destination, you're gonna be like, wow, that was fast. But then you have to make those memories in between, and then you can be like, wow, it
Exactly,
was a good time.
because the actual win, the actual trophy, is the one that you feel that all of the things you've been through, and all of the things you've done to have that trophy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, more movies, La La Land.
Yeah, La La
Just
Land.
talk about them.
I just only heard of the name. I don't know anything.
There's one that Chadwick Boseman did. I don't really remember the name. Also a really good movie. There's a lot of other movies, but yeah,
I'm gonna get into a lot more with with the music type of movies, such as like Tenor.
yeah,
Tenor is a pretty good movie
yeah,
too. I only watched the trailers, but I can tell it's a pretty good movie.
yeah. Well, Luis, it was fun.
Yeah,
First episode in English done.
yeah. This wraps it up for this episode.
Thank you everybody for listening, tuning in. Give us support, like a little sub. If you want to talk about something else next, if you have an idea of what you want to hear,
Any ideas, any suggestions? Comment down below.
just put them down there, and we'll surely read them and maybe reply. But yeah, thank you everybody for listening and tuning in. And this is Take Two with Luis and Diego. So
We might before we go off, we might in the future make some polls, some
yeah,
to like
see what
people-
what the people want.
yeah, to be for people, for you guys to vote which other topic we're gonna talk about in the next episode. And yeah, without further say,
See you everybody. Peace out and God bless.
like and subscribe.